we got to move on. I know it's a business. By the looks of it, they say he wanted to be out of here, so he got what he wanted. No, I'm just saying. He gonna start hitting him though. He gonna start hitting him. He's got to get a few games under his belt because he was one of the reasons I came here for sure. But yeah, we got to move on. I know it's a business.
I'm going to say something that's a little bold because you don't typically say this about a team that has just traded away the face of their franchise, but the Sacramento Kings are making some moves, and the moves that they're making are actually quite brilliant. So before we get to the content, we just launched a baseball channel. It's called Uni Diamond Talk. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description down below. We're giving away copies of MLB The Show 25 to 10 subscribers that turn on their notifications on that channel. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Ever since I've gotten this sponsorship, I've been trying to figure out a way to game the system so I can earn my subscribers money, and I finally did it this past week. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you all the messages I've been receiving over the past few days as a result of all the people making money with my picks. I have a model that has exponentially increased our hit rate, and if you don't believe me, just look at my DMs. I mean, people have been blowing up my DMs with all the money they've been making. We made thousands of dollars on Prize Picks this past week, but use my promo code microphone when you sign up for Prize Picks to get $50 when you make a play of $5 or more. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? After tons of controversy in Sacramento, the Sacramento Kings finally gave up and decided to trade De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs. In return, they got Zach LaVine, Sidy Cissoko, 3 first-round picks that aren't really the greatest first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks. The San Antonio Spurs got De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin, and the Chicago Bulls got Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own first-round pick back. In this case, the Sacramento Kings got the worst part of this deal in my opinion. They essentially had their backs against the wall. They knew that De'Aaron Fox wasn't going to commit to a contract extension, and they tried everything to keep him. When De'Aaron Fox fouled Jaden Ivey towards the end of their game versus the Pistons, resulting in a 4-point play, Mike Brown did what he was supposed to do and called De'Aaron out.
If you're up 3, you gotta guard your man at the 3-point line. There should be no closeout opportunity. No closeout opportunity. We told them that they know the only thing that can hurt us is a 3. And why there was a closeout by Fox, I'm not sure. But for sure, 100%, we told our guys, can't give up a 3. Can't give up a 3. Can't give up a 3.
Very shortly after, we would see Mike Brown having a one-on-one conversation with De'Aaron Fox before we would find out that Mike Brown would get fired. The Sacramento Kings front office was eviscerated for doing this because Mike Brown has brought this team the most success they've seen since Mike Malone was their head coach, and this is a team that's had a knack for bringing in great head coaches and great talent and letting them walk away to other teams and having those players or coaches have a lot of success on those other teams. But in this case, the Kings were desperate. They wanted to make sure their franchise cornerstone was happy, but it didn't work. They ended up trading him anyway. This didn't just hurt the Sacramento Kings front office, it didn't just make them look bad, it didn't just cost people their jobs even though it was unnecessary, but it also hurt De'Aaron Fox's best friend, Malik Monk. Malik Monk entered the NBA in the 2017 NBA draft, the same exact time De'Aaron Fox did. These two became lottery picks primarily because of their success with one another when they were in Kentucky together, but they had vastly different careers. De'Aaron Fox was drafted to Sacramento and saw his talent get wasted throughout the first 8 seasons of his career, whereas Malik Monk was drafted to the Charlotte Hornets, had trouble cracking the rotation because they had a plethora of guards, signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Los Angeles Lakers and carved out a good identity for himself, and then hit the market for a huge payday. It was truly godsend for Malik Monk because at that point people thought that Malik Monk was just a draft bust that was going to wash out of the NBA, but his final season in Charlotte and his lone season with the Los Angeles Lakers changed everything for him. Malik Monk could choose any team that he wanted during 2022 free agency because his skills were very sought after. He shot 40% from 3 in his final season with Charlotte and 39% from 3 with the Los Angeles Lakers. So he decided to take less money to sign with the Sacramento Kings, just so he could reunite with his buddy from Kentucky, De'Aaron Fox. And in year 1, it produced magical results. The Kings had their best season in decades, finishing 3rd in the Western Conference conference and taking the Golden State Warriors to 7 games. But things would slowly decline following that. So much so that De'Aaron Fox would eventually tell the Sacramento Kings that no matter what, he wasn't going to sign an extension with them. And Malik Monk definitely felt some kind of way about that because Malik Monk took a pay cut to play with De'Aaron, and you could just tell based off of how enthusiastic he was when he originally signed with the team.
Got a call from Sac, said they wanted to offer me, man. Then I called Fox to see what he thought about it and made a decision after that. But yeah, man, I'm ready to play with my teammate, my brother.
But then compare that to how he sounded after De'Aaron Fox demanded a trade.
Because he was one of the reasons I came here, for sure. But yeah, we got to move on. I know it's a business. By the looks of it, they said he wanted to be out of here, so he got what he wanted. I'll probably talk to him later on down the line.
So the Sacramento Kings post De'Aaron Fox plan was to see whether or not Malik Monk could be their point guard. After all, he averaged 5 assists per game when De'Aaron Fox was on the team last year. So they did a brief little trial run with Malik Monk, and man, this guy is a bit of a turnover machine. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still putting together some incredible performances, and yeah, against the Dallas Mavericks, he had 8 assists. Against the New Orleans Pelicans, he had 7 assists, but you don't have to be a genius to tell that Malik Monk is playing his best basketball when he's off the ball and doesn't need to be the sole facilitator of the offense. The Sacramento Kings desperately need a point guard, even though this might mean that Malik Monk needs to come off of the bench. Now, I know if you're a Kings fan, you might think that things are getting really bad for this team, but believe it or not, this team actually has a light at the end of the tunnel. Going into All-Star Weekend, they're on a 3-game win streak. They're in 9th place, 1 game behind the Dallas Mavericks, who are without like half of their roster. They're 2 games behind the Los Angeles Clippers, who are in 6th place right now. They just added Zach LaVine, who Malik Monk seems to love.
You know, Zach obviously is a talent in this league, but now that you're a teammate, is there anything that kind of sticks out since he's been here that you made?
Yeah, that ain't hitting no threes like he do with everybody else.
Right.
God damn.
Something about being the king.
I don't know what it is. This broke right now. I'm just saying. He gonna start hitting them though. He gonna start hitting them. He's got to get a few games under his belt.
And they have some great contracts on this team. I mean, Malik Monk and Keon Ellis are balling out of their minds, and they're not getting paid very much money. Meanwhile, you have the #1 overall pick in the 2017 NBA draft, Markelle Fultz, one of the most tragic stories in NBA history. An individual that came out of Washington that was supposed to be a do-it-all guard. A guard that could play the 1 or 2, can play on ball or off ball, was incredible at playmaking, and could spot up on the perimeter as a 3-point shooter. We already made a whole in-depth video on what would happen to Markelle Fultz. The abbreviated version is he had thoracic outlet syndrome, which caused discomfort in his shooting form, and as a result, he had to relearn his ability to shoot a basketball, which is really awkward when a team trades up to the #1 overall pick to select you and dubs you the completion of the process. Honestly, this big 3 of Markelle Fultz, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons just looks funnier and funnier every time I look at this picture. The 76ers would cut ties with Markelle Fultz and trade him to the Orlando Magic, and he'd actually look like a solid player for the Orlando Magic when he was fully healthy. But that's the problem, Markelle Fultz just couldn't stay healthy. In January of 2021, he would suffer a torn ACL. He would come back a year later, but obviously a torn ACL is a major procedure, so he would come off of the bench. But he would still be very solid in his role off of the bench. During the 2022-23 season, Markelle Fultz experienced a resurgence, even boosting his 3-point percentage to 31%, averaging 14 points per game, and shooting a career-high 51% from the field. He established himself as a premier defender in the NBA as well, averaging 1.5 steals per game. But in his following season, he would regress once more, averaging 7.8 points per game, half of what he was doing the year prior. You would see his role get reduced as well, and once the season concluded, well, the Orlando Magic opted not to re-sign Markelle Fultz. So Markelle Fultz became one of those free agents that teams really didn't care about. Nobody signed him, even if you needed a point guard. Who would want to take the risk on him? Who would want to deal with the injury issues? Which version of Markelle Fultz were you getting? Were you getting the version of him that could be a decent shooter and will attack the rim and will stay healthy? Or were you going to get the inconsistent Markelle Fultz? So as a result, no team really took a flyer on him except for now. I mean, I'm personally really happy for him because according to Shams Charania, the Sacramento Kings are signing Markelle Fultz. Free Free agent guard Markelle Fultz has agreed to a deal with the Sacramento Kings, his agent Raymond Brothers of IM Sports and Entertainment told ESPN. The Kings have searched to find a point guard and land a deal with the former #1 overall pick. Now honestly, I don't know if this move solves the Sacramento Kings problems. They need a true point guard so that Zach could be a true 2 guard. The problem with this move is Markelle Fultz is a combo guard who historically hasn't shot the ball well. His best season shooting from beyond the arc is the 2022-23 season, where he shot 31% from 3, and that's from attempting 1.5 3-pointers per game. In terms of defense, Markelle Fultz is one of the better defensive guards in the entire NBA, and as a fan of basketball and as a person that has tremendous empathy for his story, I genuinely want him to succeed. I don't necessarily know how much this is going to move the needle for the Sacramento Kings unless if Markelle Fultz has something up his sleeve that we haven't seen. I mean, we don't know what Markelle has been doing over the past couple months to try to convince teams to sign him. It's truly a shame because Markelle Fultz could have been one of the best guards in NBA history, but a freak injury completely ruined everything. His story is very similar to Derrick Rose's story, only we never got to see Markelle Fultz be peak Markelle Fultz in the NBA. At least we got a couple of years of peak Derrick Rose. It's truly one of the more bizarre stories in NBA history, and we have a full-length video covering it that I'll leave in the end screen for you guys to catch because it's way too detailed and I just briefly glossed over it in this video. But from the Sacramento Kings standpoint, I don't know how much sense this makes, but from the Markelle Fultz standpoint, this is probably the greatest opportunity he has ever been given. I mean, if he could go to the Sacramento Kings and establish himself as a true playmaker, he's averaged about 5 assists per game when he was with the Orlando Magic, so I think he's definitely capable of it, and he's also a freak athlete. This is probably his best opportunity to carve out a consistent role in the NBA for the rest of his career. And as a fan of basketball and just someone that genuinely has a lot of empathy for Markelle Fultz, I really hope it works out for him. Now let me know what you guys think about this signing in the comment section down below. If you guys haven't seen our video on the rise and fall of Markelle Fultz, I'll leave a link to that in the end screen so you guys can check it out. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.